This podcast is sponsored by CDO Group, the industry leader providing a full range of construction and project management services. CDO Group has managed thousands of projects in all 50 states. Their group of experts provides systems, processes, and procedures to make sure that your projects turn over on time and on budget every single time. With over 24 years of experience, CDO Group is the industry's leader in construction management and general contracting services. To find them, go to cdogroup.com. Hi, and welcome to the Future of Development podcast. My name's Anthony Amunategui, and I'm here to inspire people to find amazing careers in the construction development world. If you like our podcast, please make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really like our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Hi, welcome to the Future of Development podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Amunategui, and today I've got a hot conversation with the one and only Chris Ressa from DLC Management. He is the expert in all the things retail development. You are going to like the challenge that we put on in this show. Let's welcome Chris to the show. Chris, welcome to the show. Excited about having you on. You know, as we get into the real estate world, as we find the entrepreneurs that are changing the landscape of this country and really continue to develop through these crazy real estate times, excited about having you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
You know, it's something to say today's real estate world is changing faster than ever. Are you seeing the impacts of that? And how are you seeing that impact on the shopping centers and the properties that you're developing?
Real estate is always challenged because if you're building something, and when you start coming up with the idea, you're solving to a demand in the marketplace today that you may not be able to fill for 3 to 5 years, right? You have a piece of land, you say this is the perfect site for, you name it, multifamily, self-storage, shopping center, industrial, and then, but it's not zoned for that, let's say, but it's perfect for it. Well, you got to go through all these things to get it like properly zoned. And then you have to go through the planning process and you have to build it. And before you can actually deliver the product to the market, you could be years in the making. We've all heard of the deals that were like, they've been planning that for 20 years. Well, I think that's a challenge in today's real estate landscape because the world is moving much quicker and markets shift, and you might be solving and building to a demand that might not exist long in the future. So I think that's the world is moving fast. And I think all, people in the real estate space are trying to think about how to serve the demand today, given the constraints of real estate. And what you're seeing in a lot of scenarios is, I think the buzz is definitely redevelopment, because to do new development to solve to that is really challenging. Probably the new development that I think people are super comfortable with in just general real estate would probably be single family housing. Obviously, there's other things being developed, right? You have multifamilies being developed. Even, there's still new offices that'll get built and new shopping centers that'll get built. When I say less development, I mean at a smaller scale. But I think, that's led the opportunity for the redevelopment to circumvent that time, to deliver the demand to the marketplace in a timely manner. And until those approval process, there's always the iconic pieces of dirt or that are irreplaceable. But when you're talking, and those might be the same demand 50 years from now. But when you're talking in a mobile world where people are more transient than they've ever been, I think you end up seeing a lot of redevelopment to end up solving to a demand that's today.
It's more than ever I've seen, brands having a tough time planting the flag, right? They're like, all right, they're not sure they want to spend or get the investment. There are some brands out there, the iconic brands, the Targets, the Burlingtons, there are folks out there that know how to do property and they just know how to do it no matter what the economy is. If it's a good economy, they're doing fine. If it's a bad economy, they're thriving even more. There are those brands that will do fine in that area, but the brands there's a lot of brands out there that are just having a hard time, with competition changing, the pandemic, even the brands that where we build office buildings for, the share spaces, the WeWorks, the brands that we work for that are all shared tenants. they're all still scratching their head. All right. We got inventory. We got projects we're working on. We're not sure, this pandemic changed the way people are working from home but it's also kind of proving out some of it as well. There's also a lot of people going, look, we worked at home. It sucked. We don't want to work from home. We want that shared environment where I leave, I get dressed, and I go to work. Having the dog and sitting in my boxers all day, I wasn't very productive, right? And it felt like I was missing some stuff. So some of it, I believe, got proved out, but there's still, a lot of people are still trying to figure out which way the economy is going to go and how the developers are going to, same thing. They're kind of, where our clients going to come from.
A lot said there. I think my response on the overall is I think we've come away with two conclusions from this, which is one, a hybrid work environment is here to stay. I think the reality is that most what people task-oriented work that involves like sitting down at a computer or something can probably be done anywhere. That doesn't mean that's the best thing for the company, but can the work actually get done? Sure. And then I think the other thing, the converse to that is the world has realized that there's an unquantifiable, significant value to the human connection. And when I think about work from home, work from office, I think what I don't hear enough about is the work from home piece is less about, to me, at least anecdotally, not empirically, anecdotally, as you talk to people, is a little bit less about the location of it being in their, in their house, in their basement, but more about that people are looking for flexibility in life. People's personal lives are busier than they've been ever. And I think people are looking for flexibility. So if that flexibility, you're probably, and we have a hybrid work model now. We instituted it's 3 days in office, 2 days flex. What I would say is I think people are looking for flexibility. They want the opportunity to be able to run to the bank, meet with their accountant, and not have to cram everything after hours at work or on a Saturday and Sunday. And I think what we'll start to see, I think, going in the future is less about the location and more about the flexibility. We're not there today. We're really focused on location as a country and where it happens. But I think when you break it down, it's really about the flexibility. Why does someone want to work at home? It could be childcare. It could be that they've got a lot of things going on and they can multitask and they got a lot of balls in the air. And they want to be able to pop out and go pick the kids up from school. They want to be able to pop into the grocery store, they like to work out at lunch and they have a meeting with their financial advisor this week. Well, I don't know, let's call that all like 8 hours, right? Maybe, and so what does that mean? Maybe the flexibility is different than location. Maybe it's duration, maybe it's flex time when the person's working. Maybe, right? I think what we're going to see more as it relates to that is flexibility becomes a big hot topic. I think that's a word we'll start to see in the next couple of years. That's a buzzword in the knowledge worker workplace.
Well, I mean, you're the executive vice president of operations for DLC, right? And people are working from home. Are you feeling like they're more productive or less productive when you've got this environment?
I think it depends on how you define productivity. I think what's more important is to talk about what's lost. I think what's lost is if Bob sends an email to John, and John's Bob's boss, and says, hey, I got a question on this. John comes out of the office and says, hey, Bob, here's how I might handle that situation. Well, now everyone out in the cubes heard John give that advice.
Right.
That's gone, right? Now that's silent. No one's hearing John say that. So I think what's missing in just general is the serendipitous interaction, the pop-ins that, you could argue could be distractions, but also really important to building relationships. And when you're at home, it's hard to do the onboarding, training, development, collaboration. We talk about, our CEO talks about all the time, my partner, that thinks the future office in a decade looks like a fancy hotel lobby, right? It's a place of collaboration, training, and development, not so much a place to, where you're shooting out emails.
If you go over to the Soho House over here in Chicago, that's what it looks like. Like there's folks in their laptops having little meetings in a corner. A couple of them have time in between. I think you hit on something really, really key before about that collaborate. That piece. For thousands, for hundreds of thousands of years, we were tribal, right? We had these tribes that walked this planet, and we walked together, right? And you and I might have been part of a hunting group, and you had an elder, and you walked with somebody and said, all right, Chris, you're holding the spear right. You're not holding it right. Hey, when you sneak up on this guy, you do it this way. You got guidance, right? There was this support that happened, and there was this feedback you got. And I feel like that's what we get in the office. We get that feedback loop that's really important to the development of the people and the team. A lot of times when we're home working away, you get to feel, it doesn't feel the same. You can't feel the love or not even the love. You can't feel the connection or, you kind of get an order, but you're not getting the relationship to it, and the rest of the tribe isn't getting it, right? Like you said, that feedback is missing. So that there's that separation. We are essentially very communal people, right? I mean, humans are very communal, and having the rest of that group around us and seeing that and watching each other, right? And adapting to the team's behavior and seeing that there is a real value to that. And, I think there, we will have a jump when we get to the metaverse. We'll see that big jump where people can interact socially in a virtual or augmented environment, but we're still not there yet, and we're starting to push. We're starting to sonar what that feels like, but I don't know that it's 100% there yet. Yeah,
well, it's not there. You can't even do it really on your phone yet. So I think we got a while for the metaverse to. Even for me, if I can't operate it on my phone, it gets less use. So I think that's a lot of society, right? Like in general, I could run like majority of the business on my phone. So if there's things that you can't do on your phone, that's pretty inefficient.
No, it's by far being strapped to a desk is something of the past. Having it be able to communicate and grab things you need and access them on the go wherever you're at. I go on multiple business trips a year where I never even need a laptop anymore. I'm in a business meeting. Rarely do I need to break out my laptop. I've got a phone, and I can do most of the things I need to do on a phone. The rare occasion where I can't, I'll pull out that laptop that I've been dragging for hundreds of thousands of miles. Talk to me a little bit more about the challenges that you see going forward. So how are the real estate deals that you're working on today, how are they different today than they were 5 years ago?
Well, I'll set the parameters a little bit. So DLC owns approximately $2.5 billion of commercial real estate. We are, it's about 18 million square feet, give or take. And there's three partners, myself and two other guys, Jonathan Wigzer and Adam Ipshin. And I run all the stuff that's the tenant facing side, which is leasing, which is the deal making, construction, property management, our redevelopment and marketing. And, we're constantly in the market looking to improve and add value to those properties. And we're constantly in the market looking to buy new ones. So I think we're in this interesting place, which is capital markets transaction side. Retail property in America, contrary to headline news, is pretty sought after. Retail has been very strong, and typically there's creditworthy entities on the leases that you're buying those income streams from. And there's been virtually no new development for a long time. And in fact, CBRE put out a piece that said by 2025, 25% of all retail space, and this was like last year, will be a different use. So what are the impacts of that really? The impacts of that are that probably retail property values rise because now there's more scarcity, And the spaces that retailers are looking to expand into rise in value too, because there's scarcity and less space. So if you believed in the concept that we were overstored in America over the years, which I'm not saying I necessarily believe, I actually think we have too many online stores, not too many physical stores. That's for another day. But the premise is obviously to that is, if that's the case, then in your right sizing, it'll be impactful to value. So we're seeing prices in retail properties with that are good locations and strong credit profiles of the tenants be super competitive to buy. And on the leasing side, there's extreme demand for space. Retail's on fire. And I think, what's been proven, Michael Praisman, of the CEO of Everlane, he was on Jim Cramer, and Jim Cramer's like, why are you in 2012? You're an online only brand. You're starting to open up stores. Why are you opening up stores? And Michael Praisman says, and this was in 2018, he says to Jim Cramer, what online only retailer actually makes money? Jim Cramer looks at him, and Michael Praisman goes, virtually none of them. That's the dirty little secret. And so the reality is, people talk about the brick and mortar stores like it's got to be experiential and it has to be all these things, when the reality is it's the place that retailers profit the most today is the retail store, the four walls. The cost of entry is higher, but the online and the variable cost structure, right? My wife can't buy 4, return 3, pay no shipping, and the retailer make money. That just doesn't. It doesn't matter whatever the cost. That doesn't pencil. And the consumer might want that, but the retailer is not profiting. And customer acquisition costs are through the roof. If you look at customer acquisition costs, that's essentially marketing for digitally only brands. What you see is that most of their marketing to revenue percentages are higher than many traditional retailers' occupancy and marketing budgets combined. So I say customer acquisition cost is the new rent. It's higher than the new rent because it's variable. The more clicks you get, the more it goes up. So you have the reverse logistics problem. You have customer acquisition costs. And today you have the whole supply chain challenges. So is online going to continue to grow? Sure, but so is physical. This is why you're seeing all these digitally native brands open up stores. They started out as online only, and now they have all these stores. Warby Parker was an online only brand. They have 140 stores today. They just went public, and their stores are more profitable, some say, it's debatable, than the online business. So I think that, yes, there's higher growth percentages online year over year. But if you're talking about how to make a profit, the 4 walls of our store have proven time and time again. We have a presentation internally that says the store has won. It's the online and brick and mortar. The omni-channel is necessary. You need to be symbiotic in retailing. You need both channels for most retailers. Some brands, one channel could work based on price and the value proposition, but to think that the online being a detriment to physical retail, that's the tailwind, not the headwind. It's clear and proven out time and time again that they're symbiotic, and physical retail is not only here to stay, it's impactful, right? Think about this. Pre-pandemic, 2018, Career Builder did something that said 78% of all Americans were paycheck to paycheck. I don't know what it is today. I'm assuming it's somewhere in some standard deviation to that. So those people cannot afford to pay for shipping. They can't pay shipping on every product. It doesn't work, right? That consumer. Now, the retailers can't make money unless they charge them for shipping. So where does that leave you? Go to the store.
I think that's interesting. It's a little bit counterintuitive to where I've seen, but I got it. We spent a lot of time traveling, looking at different retailers across the world, and my wife and I were in Europe just recently, and we're going through. They've got whole segments of malls that have now become pop-up malls, right? Where retailers are going in, and like you said, there are a lot more retailers than ever before. There are what we've noticed there are a lot of great brands coming up, really, fitting the American lifestyle. Our society has definitely gone up a notch as far as disposable income, the availability of cash. If you look around, you can really see that we've got this, and the premium products that really support that lifestyle are there. Now, I think a lot of them are I've seen hesitation in it, but as that supply shrinks, maybe it does get more valuable. But we're seeing a lot of we saw a lot of malls that were 100% pop-up, or maybe 90% pop-up. Maybe there was a key tenant, or there was food courts that had, really dynamic food court. We were just down in Delray Beach, and they've got a food court down there that changes on a regular season, right? They bring in these top brands. The food court itself carries all the equipment, and the brands just come in and work out of there. They showcase their talents, show everybody the neat stuff that they do, but ultimately the developer has developed the mall.
So I think that's like, if you drew a bell curve, those are all the exceptions. That's never going to be the main portion. I think it's the exceptions. It's fun. It's going to work in some places, but where do you live, Anthony?
We're in Chicago.
Where?
Oak Park.
Oak Park. So, I don't see the everyday Jewel Osco Center being that, where you go to Jewel Osco, and that to me, that's a neighborhood feel. That's not about this iconic destination, about lifestyle oriented. Those are daily needs oriented, and I think there's a big difference between the lifestyle and destinational driven types of projects versus just daily needs. And if you think about the majority of America, it's really about the daily needs type things, right? The nail salon, Chinese restaurant, pizza restaurant, and the grocery store, and the laundromat for those who don't have laundry. And I that's why I went to the 78%. A lot of times when you're seeing headline news about things changing in retail, it's sometimes it's about retail that's catering to such a small piece of the population that it's not really painting a broad brush of actually what's happening in the world, right? When they talk about Walmart, Amazon, Target, that's the case for sure, because they are. But when you're talking about some of the niche plays in a pop-up mall of these cool lifestyle brands, I love it. It's cool. The point I'm trying to make is that that's playing around the edges, and that's not really the core of America.
I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of core of America that have found, the first time ever, I saw my wife do an order for Costco online. For years. It's been our, a couple times a month, we trudge our whole family, her and I trudge over there. We got, $1,200 every other week in Costco crap that we bring back for the family. And the other day, I saw a guy show up here with Costco. I'm like, She goes, yeah, I figured out how to do it online. I'm like, what?
So I would say this. We went through a global pandemic and people were stuck at home for the most part. In general, what percentage of all retail sales do you think happen in a physical store in America? All of the retail sales.
What is the physical number of sales in the retail world that happens online versus?
If you took all the retail sales, all the dollars that go to buy goods in America, all the retail sales, what percentage of that pie is done online versus in a store?
I don't know, Eric, or what do you guys make? Will you guys look that up for us real quick? Or do you
I know the answer. I know the answer. I'm asking you. I flipped the interview. So it's like north of 80% is done in a store.
I find that I'd love to see that. I would.
So if you look at the census reports it every quarter.
They'll pull it for us. When do you guys pull that? Get that detail on how much online versus on there. I mean, that's a pretty interesting number. I mean, so there is a lot of. So I guess the point you're trying to get, there's still a lot of great stuff that's happening in stores. People are having the availability of knowing I can go get that and get it right now, not wait for it for a date. Knowing that I can go there and feel it, size it, feel the product. Is that what you're saying?
Kinda, a little bit. I'm saying that, well, that's one of the things I'm saying. I'm also saying, right, there's a consumer who will pay $200 to have it shipped to them. There is also a consumer that can't afford the extra $3.99 to have their groceries shipped to them. That's the majority.
I hear you. I got it. So as you guys are developing, looking at your properties and restructuring all these properties that you have around the country, how is this impacting those restructurings?
I think that at scale, there is a lot less restructuring of the lease terms as you would think. I think the reality is, if you're a retailer and you're growing, right? You're growing. You've determined this is the right spot, and you're growing. Let's say you're a public retailer and you're growing. The number one thing about the location isn't flexibility. The number one thing is about securing the location for as long as possible at as low cost as possible. I'm trying to get the cost up. I'm collecting the rent, but that's really what you're doing, right?
But how are they knowing that's the right spot? I mean, this is the classic issue with bricks and sticks construction, right? And this is where the retailers today are all shaking their head, going, "Where do we put our locations?" Right?
I don't think that's true. I don't think they're shaking their head. I think if you look at what's happened, right? Majority of retailers have been, like last year, we opened more stores in America than we closed. So more new store opens than more closures. And majority of those were on long-term leases. And the reality is that most of those retailers wanted them just as much as the landlords, right? If you're a pizza location, you open up, Anthony and Chris want to open a pizza location. Yeah. We find this great spot downtown, wherever, downtown in Naperville. So I'll go to your world. We go to Naperville. We want to open up in Naperville. We find this location. You and I, to open up a pizza shop, we got this cool concept we want to do. You're in construction. What's it going to cost me to build the pizza shop?
$400,000.
Okay, $400,000. So you and I sink $400,000 in to buy this, to build this pizza shop out.
Yep.
And then I sign a 1-year lease, and now the landlord can kick me out after a year? After I just invested $400,000? No way. I want to lock it. I want to try and get the landlord to give me as lowest rent as possible. I need to lock that in as long as possible. By the way, I'm probably not going to get financing. If you and I decide, we don't want to put it all in as equity, no bank is going to lend when I can lose the location. The bank's going to want to see lease term.
They want to see lease term. They want to see to make that money.
Right, exactly. So I think this whole concept of the pop-up thing that you mentioned, like in the mall, I think it's great and cool. We don't have any product like that, and you're going to see it, but I think that's going to overwhelmingly consistently be the minority, unless you're in construction, unless you drop your prices by $3 gazillion and you let me build my pizza shop for $20,000, then if we do that, then you might see something. But to get infrastructure in place to do businesses that generate real yield and significant sales, it costs dollars. So that's why I said before, the cost of entry for retail is more than online. You and I can open up a t-shirt shop online real quickly, real fast, and make some money. The minute we want to scale and build infrastructure and we're shipping to multiple markets, the retail physical begins to be more profitable.
The things that we're seeing with when you talk about that, $400,000, that market down in Delray Beach that's putting, it's got these restaurants that change all the time. The developer's gone through and spent the money to build out each one of those shop locations. Now what happens is they're getting a premium of rent. When you talk about wanting more rent, right now what they're doing is there's no investment by the pizza company. They literally show up with their crew, and they've got all this infrastructure, maybe a couple little parts and pieces, but their $400,000 is, less than 25% of that, and now they're operating in that space. But now they're paying the landlord twice what they would have paid him in rent because they don't have the risk anymore.
So I think the model works.
Census, got it. Page 2.
But if you go to the third column, it says e-commerce as a percentage of total retail sales.
E-commerce, got it. Total sales, yep.
And if you just look for a long time, 13%, 15%, 13%, 12.5%. So if you look each quarter, we're at retail sales grows. You're at like 1.65 trillion in retail sales, and like 215,000 of that, 215 are billion is.
So let's describe what we're looking at, because people are not seeing this if they're listening.
Yeah, so we're looking at the total retail sales in America by breakdown of in a store and online. And what this is showing is that in Q3 of 21, 13% of the total retail sales were done online. In Q2 of 21, 13.3 were done online. In Q1 of 21, 13.6 were done online. In Q3 of 2020, 13.8. And what I think is interesting to note is the percentage of e-commerce penetration in total retail sales, if you just look at that, has gone down, not up over the last year.
So online, you say is shrinking?
No, it's not. It's growing. As a percentage of the total pie, it shrank. Because if you look at the right-hand side, e-commerce in Q3 2020, e-commerce rose 36%.
Well,
in Q4.
Hold on. We had a pandemic. People were sitting in their house. So now people are starting to come out of their caves and they're starting to
totally. That's total.
But I can't. There's no way. There's not one other study I've ever seen where you're saying that online does not continue to outpace the growth of retail, of physical retail. You're saying that physical retail, bricks and sticks, is going to outpace online growth?
No.
Yeah.
I'm saying that as a percentage of total retail sales, e-commerce is much smaller than people think. It's only 13%. Let's say in America we sell.
Wait, Chris, here. The point I get here. Got it. Look, we're going to always have this ebb and tide and shrinking and growing of both economies. But you can't sit there and say that you've got shopping centers that have been operating the same way for the lifetime they've been, and online has not affected them. It's dramatically affected the retailer throughout this country. If your retailer,
I think positively.
Maybe.
Tell me one retailer that's gone bankrupt because of e-commerce. Name one. National retail that we all know. Just name one.
There are dozens of them that have gone.
I can't name one.
Kmart? Blockbuster?
That wasn't Kmart.
How about? I mean, literally, there are
Kmart was
Sears.
Kmart and Sears was on their way out 40 years ago, before online even existed. Those are
Chris. If you're sitting here saying that today, that online has not dramatically changed the way. I mean, Blockbuster went out of business because Netflix came in. Netflix went out of business because now we can stream it, everything. Online has dramatically changed all retailers. If you're, as a developer, not thinking that that's true, I mean, you can keep selling yourself that, but somewhere you're going to be looking at going, there's no way that's possible. Today, online, and the changes that we have to make in those shopping centers, they're affecting every. Go to ICSC. I'll be at ICSC in a couple of months here in May, and go look at that show floor. It's shrunk by a quarter. Right, they're down to one room. That thing used to fill up the whole convention hall. It is dramatically changing the way that developers and people are happening in this business. It's a pretty big effect on there, right?
So can I respond to that?
Sure.
All right. So one, I think a lot of what you said is headline news. I just don't see it rooted in fact. The industry has to change. and it is changing. But by and large, online retailing has helped many physical retailers. So when we say change, when you say the word change, it makes this impetus that it's negative. I meant what I said. So Blockbuster, online retailing, and I'm very specific with my words, Blockbuster was a physical retailer of VHS and DVDs. The retail business did not get put out by online. What got put out is their product was no more available. That's like saying that's like the difference between horse and buggies and cars. The reason horse and buggies went away was because we have a new invention, the same as Blockbuster, not because physical retail went to online. Kmart, Sears, they were gone.
Blockbuster went out because of Netflix. It was
right. That's what I mean. That's what I said.
Hold on. That was the same product. Now Netflix went out because nobody has. I don't know who's got a DVD. You are correct at that point. You're right, but listen, that was. But that's what. Chris, but physical. But listen, you're here. I got what you're saying.
I go on it. I just interviewed Susan Kapner of the Wall Street Journal on our podcast. Okay. She's a retail reporter. And the quote, and you can check my LinkedIn that she said on my podcast, which I think is interesting, is that majority of the retailers that have closed stores have done so because of brand, not because of physical retail. The point I'm making is that physical retail is strong and here to stay. That not that online's going away. But I will say this, if you think about the channel in which you sell is not what's putting people out, right? I think Barnes & Noble is a great example. Barnes and Blockbuster to me are very similar. See, Blockbuster, you're going right to this Netflix thing, which I don't think it's as simple as that. If you go to Barnes & Noble, right? Barnes & Noble had a book. They sold books. Barnes, it wasn't that their physical store was at a threat to Amazon. It was their product was being threatened because people were moving to ebooks and the product that they sold.
No way. I still read more than anybody I know, and I buy more books from Amazon. I used to.
But you're not the.
But people go to Barnes and Noble. I buy more books today from Amazon than I ever did before because as soon as I hear a book, I'm here. You and I will talk about something. You'll say this book. I will order it. It'll be in my door tomorrow. I don't have to go anywhere. I'm not going down to Barnes and sitting there for 2.5 hours.
But you're
hunting through it. People are doing it. There's no way. People are not doing that anymore. Now,
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. So let me finish my thought.
Go ahead.
So the point is, because you didn't let me finish. So Barnes sells books, right? Barnes has not gone out of business. They are not close to being out of business. They have consistently sold books in their stores since Amazon has been here. And so the point I'm making, the difference between them and Blockbuster is you make this point that you don't go to the store, but they still have hundreds and hundreds of locations where they're selling a ton of books. And so the point that, and so the point you're making is you don't go there. That's fine. But over the course, since Amazon's been around they started only selling books in the late 90s. They've been around for 20 plus years, and still Barnes is here with hundreds of locations that are successful selling books. They're a publicly traded company that hasn't had to take on what Blockbuster had taken on. And the point that I'm making is it's a point that physical
ticking. Their time is ticking. The amount of stores that Barnes has closed since Amazon's come around is as many stores as they have opened. They've closed more stores than they have opened today. So as you go through that, Amazon is sucked out of their business 50% or more of their business. And you're saying, yeah, they're still open. Great. They've got them. They're hanging on, but they are not, the margins are dramatically holding on to a bricks and sticks mortar location compared to an online agency that's selling that same book at a less price and more of a margin for them. It's dramatically impacting.
But that's not true. It's not more of a margin and less price.
No,
but the point is
dramatically impacting. If you get into Barnes and Noble's economics, I don't have them in front of me, but there's no way in the world that the number.
I'm not suggesting you're saying I'm saying things. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What I said was, that's not what I said. I'm making a point, and then you're saying I'm saying something different. What I said,
you're saying it's still on here. You're saying to me that, hold on, let me just see if I get this right. Let me see
sure.
That there's still a great retail business selling books. Because look, Barnes and Noble's still open and they're still doing great. I'm telling you,
that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. Right. What I'm suggesting is the first. The point that I thought you were making was that online retailing was destroying physical retail.
It is. I hear that is the point I'm making. It is destroying.
And so what I'm suggesting is majority of retail sales are still done in stores. Majority of online only retailers are not profitable. The reality.
Are you including grocery stores?
Yes.
Yeah, but hold on. Here, that's just the consumer is just now catching up to that. Here, you're absolutely right. Just like my wife, just this in the last 2 weeks, just figured out I can buy stuff because before that. She's like, no, I don't trust anybody to buy stuff. Yeah, I don't want them to buy my groceries for me. I don't trust. But, this week when $700 or $800 worth of Costco stuff showed up here without her doing anything, I bet you she never goes back to Costco. It might be a rare occasion when she goes back to a Costco again to get the massive supplies it takes to move this family forward.
But you're in a different sphere. You're in a different sphere that you missed the point that I made in the beginning. Most Americans cannot afford to pay for shipping, and most retailers cannot ship it to you for free.
That's not the case because you're seeing them. Look, the amount of time that it takes to get in your car and drive over there, it's cost you just as much as that shipping. And today with these online retailers giving you free shipping, I mean,
but they're not making money. That's not going to work. The reality is there are 2.1 online retailers in America, okay? Or there was about a couple months ago. There's 2.1 online retailers in America. They are splitting 13% of the sales. What's happened? 65%. Before you jump in, you never let me finish my point. 65% of all online retail is done by 10 companies. Amazon, Target, Walmart, Wayfair, and a couple others. The point is, all the other 1.999 are struggling to fight those 35%. So the reality is what we're really talking about is Amazon, Walmart, Target, Costco, and these other behemoths versus other online retailers. Because Amazon, Walmart, and Target in 2020 said to you, keep it. Instead of returning it because it's too much money to take back, we lose too much money. If you want it returned, keep it and we'll refund you. You're a businessman. You know that doesn't work long term. Nobody can do that, right? Amazon and Walmart have the balance sheet to do that, but most online retailers cannot do that. Most physical retailers cannot do that. The reality is we're talking about the 10 companies that dominate 65% of all retail sales. And when you're talking about Costco, Amazon, and those companies, we're talking about the majority of online sales, but the minority of online retailers. There's another 1.9 million, and all of those retailers make no money when they ship to you for free. That's what I said. The customer acquisition cost is growing, and because it costs to acquire a customer for most of these online retailers, it costs significantly more than they make on any product they sell you. That won't last, and that's only getting exacerbated as Amazon, Walmart, Target continue to thrive. And so I think the reality is that online sales will grow, but physical sales are going to continue to grow because it's the most profitable place. It's proven by numbers. It's the most profitable place for a retailer to do business, and it will be the most cost-effective way for a consumer to buy it. When you say that they're spending more money driving to the store and doing all this, that's just not true. That's why 13% of all the retail sales are done in a physical, in a online, and 87% are done up in a physical store, because financially it makes more sense. Majority of Americans can't afford convenience. That's just the reality. Majority of Americans can't afford convenience. You and I are on a podcast where most Americans can't do this at 12:30 in the middle of the day. And you and I are in a different bucket of people who can afford to pay for shipping on every product, because it's only going to get magnified. What retailer can, my wife buy 4, return 3, pay no shipping, and then make money? It doesn't work.
It's amazing watching the economy change, right? As we watch this evolution happen, with folks buying McDonald's from DoorDash and grubhub and having their McDonald's delivered, Chris, I can hear what you're saying about you believe that this is the trend. You might be the only person I've talked to in the last. You got to follow me on LinkedIn because I'm in this retail sector you're the cheerleader.
And all these.
I love it. You're the cheerleader for the guys out there. I love that you're cheering them on and that you've got this. I can see the vision and look, you're holding the flag up high and waving. Hey, listen, don't forget that this is the.
Look what Eric just posted in the chat. Eric just posted a bottle of Fanta for $13. You and I maybe can afford to pay for that and get it sent to us. Most Americans would drive 2 hours because consumer behavior is not always rational, but most Americans would drive 2 hours. He said, Eric said he would walk 2 hours before he would pay $13 for a bottle of Fanta.
But you got to know how cheap Eric is, right? But then he'll turn around and spend $1,200 on a brand new lens. For his
exactly.
It's just
it's not rational. I agree that it's not always rational, but the point is, I see the chat. But the point is, you have to admit that most Americans. That won't work. Most Americans can't pay $13. Not only don't want to choose it, but actually can't pay $13 for a Fanta.
I think we're seeing that most Americans are too lazy and they'll spend the $13 to not get off their ass and sit and watch TV, and they'll go for the convenience. I've got kids who.
But your kids are in a different sphere. You're in a different class of people. You're in a different class.
You can say Oak Parkers are, and you can say, but as I drive around this country and being around this country, our entire country has changed. I mean, look, the entire evolution of we have been a prosperous country for a lot of years now, and we've grown dramatically, and there's lots of money in the economy. Now, look, if we don't pay attention to it, and like you said, be smart about how we're doing this, I think there'll be a continuous growth between both the online growth and strategically with the physical growth, with bricks and sticks mortar. But we're seeing that change. And you're saying, hey, I'm not seeing that. Your rent deals aren't changing. Your leases, you're still getting a 10-year lease with 2 5-year terms?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're seeing, but I'm not the only one. Most of retail is. That's not unique. Like most of retail, and you say 10 and 2 5 years, I wouldn't say that. Most of retail is getting long-term leases done. That's for sure. The point the other thing I wanted to hit on, the thing that I think you keep like when we own in like 30 states, in some places that are pretty value oriented. So I'm traveling a ton. To say most Americans can afford convenience, that in the manner in which you're talking about it.
I'm not saying they can afford it. I say they will spend it. Can they afford it? No. Do I think?
That's a different topic, though. That's a different topic.
In fact, I would say to you that you're seeing a lot of the people who could afford it the least are spending it on the things they should not be spending it on, and you're absolutely right. And that's why there's this economic separation that's happening.
So
yes.
So that there's a distinction between. I think that was a good point. I don't know that piece. I don't have any stats about what people who can afford it versus not are. I know the facts that most people can't afford it. That's true. I don't know, but one of the things I would say is the reason that you're seeing more people get it is because they don't have to pay for it. You see a lot of free shipping. The point that I'm making is, well, when you see that, the retailer's losing, and that will come to roost. They won't do that. They're going to that buck has to get passed at some point. They have to make a profit. You're a businessman. You have to make a profit. Now, you might be able to get innovative like an Amazon or Costco, but not every brand can.
No, they've definitely, that pendulum will always continue to swing, right? There's a little bit of growth on the online. They'll hit a premium where it's too much. The bricks and sticks will grow. Chris, I think your point is well made. I don't know that we'll ever have a spot where you won't buy stuff in a physical world. I like going to a physical store every once in a while and finding tools or something I need right now, or I don't have time to wait for a delivery. But as those delivery routes are getting smarter and faster, I made an order yesterday. I needed some place rugs. We snowed over here in Chicago, and people were tracking it in, and someone said to the office, we need some rugs. Amazon had them here in 2 hours. I was like, huh. I was amazed by the speed by which these delivery routes are happening. As you continue to go, what do you want everybody to know about your group and how to get a hold of you?
So you can find us at dlcmgmt.com. Number one, you can find me on LinkedIn. Follow Ressa on real estate. I'm growing on all social channels, but I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. We have a podcast called Retail Retold, where we talk about interesting things at the convergence of retail and real estate. And I have a lot of retail and real estate influencers on that show. And, DLC is growing. We are investing heavily in open air retail real estate, and we're excited about the path forward.
Awesome, Chris. It's fun having this debate with you about it.
It was fun.
I think that as you look at, great podcasts for me are ones that make people think and take a position on one side or the other side and outthink the other person on it. I think it's great to have debates on this, really question where we're going, what we're up to. All kinds of great impacts are happening. It's great having you on the show. I know you're busy, and I'm grateful. As you guys continue to have breakthroughs in what you're doing and the conversations that you're having, I'd love to have you on the show again.
Excellent.
Great. Audience, if you guys loved having us debate and talk about interesting things, please make sure that you take a second right now and just go subscribe. It takes 2 seconds, and it really does help Chris and I, with topics. If you want to say something to us, make sure that you leave a comment down below. We're grateful for all you listeners and everything we have. So thanks again. Thanks for joining us. My name is Anthony Amunategui, always looking for people to bring insight into the industry, finding ways to inspire people to have amazing careers in the development world. If you liked our podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really liked our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Thanks again for listening. Please share it with your friends.